Blog Talk Radio.
Tonight, so we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. Of course, it's our roundtable session here tonight. We'll talk a little bit about what transpired over this past weekend, what the hot news is, and some free agency mix-ups, all kinds of good stuff coming up here tonight on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Trying to get to the studio for some reason. Having issues getting there, so give me just a second. I'll get you guys on board here for some reason. Oh, goodness gracious. I don't know why the heck I get this little red icon sometimes with the Blog Talk icon instead of our actual logo here, but most of the time I have to log out and log back in. And then I'll be able to bring the guys here onto the studio side. I generally have a rant to open up with. I don't really have much to rant about this week, other than, track bashing and sportsmanship. I think those are some serious issues that are going on in the short track world, and just be aware that the things you say, people hear, and act accordingly to that. People do use screenshots all the time, which you think may be a private conversation. Isn't necessarily as private as you think it is. And then when you post stuff on Facebook and Twitters and all the other kind of crazy social media sites, be careful what you place there. You don't know how many times things can be misunderstood, or even just saying things that you may not should say. I think I've been guilty of that just as anybody. But we just do better. We just try harder, do better. I went to a race this weekend. It's the Dixie 50 down at Hattiesburg Speedway, and I actually got to sit in the bleachers for the first time in a very long time. And I didn't. It's not what I wanted to do. It was what I was led to do. And I knew the moment that I sat down that I was where I needed to be for the time being. Though I love to put my heart and soul into dirt track racing, a lot of times, you miss the fun times. You miss the important part. When you get to sit there and you get to see how important it is to these fans that they pull for their drivers, or they pull for their hometown team, their home track. It really puts things in perspective. When you go to another facility and you see how these guys work amongst each other every week, you have to gain that kind of respect. What I'm trying to tell you is if you're upset at a racetrack for some reason, something didn't go your way, we so many times live in our own stuff, and we don't really think about the other side of things. If we could do more of that and less judging, less slandering, I think we could take racing to a whole nother level. And at least it would be a lot more peaceful. At least things would be more civil. There's always people challenging rules. There's always people challenging authority. Cheating is racing, and that's just part of it. That's part of where racing kind of began from. Does it fit into our society that we live in now? I don't think so. I think that we are more in the time of where we, in the days of being honorable, well, you might have cheated on your race car a little bit. Well, those days of being honorable and kind and whatnot, we're a little bit less than that. So we need a little bit tighter rule book. We need a little bit tighter rule set, and we don't need to push the issues as much because those do create competitions. And the reason why they create competitions is because of money. Money is the power behind all of that. If you spend a lot of money, you want in return what you placed value into, and sometimes the return isn't necessarily monetary, but it is in some form or fashion a return. If you're being cheated and not being able to exceed to that expectation because other people are cheating, that creates an offset. That creates it creates conflict. And I think that as we try to move and catapult this sport in the future, it's those things that we're going to have to quit challenging, and we're going to have to quit bashing racetracks, and we're going to have to follow the rules of what is placed by these sanctioning bodies, and we're going to have to work to do better with our sportsmanship and not so much of, worried about the simple stuff, But that's all I have to really say today, other than, I enjoyed sitting on the other side of things and putting life back into perspective and why we do what we do every weekend. And with that, I'll bring on my partners in crime. I believe Taz Taylor and Ms. Lee Reed's in the studio. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
All right, well, we got a lot to cover here tonight, so let's dive right on in. I wasn't too impressed with the race this past weekend. As with Taz, I was real busy on Saturday night. I didn't get home until 4 o'clock in the morning. I watched a little bit of the race and kind of didn't feel like I missed much, and that's unfortunate because Bristol is one of my favorite tracks, and here we are with the announcement that we're not going to go dirt racing anymore. But yet we've had some pretty darn good races, I think, on the dirt racing side. Bristol failed to live up to its name once again this past weekend. I'm not mad about who won, by no means. Denny Hamlin. Matter of fact, I feel like I'm kind of pulling more for Hamlin this year than I ever have. So that's not a product of frustration. It is just the product of the racing. And I wonder how you guys feel about it. I know Taz Taylor kind of missed a little bit of the race, but hopefully Miss Lee caught the whole thing and she can kind of fill us in where we may be wrong here tonight. But let's start with the first subject here. Was the Bristol race that good of a race? I'll start with you, Mrs. Lee. What did you think?
No, it wasn't. It was very disappointing. And it's funny because it's funny. I caught Race Hub tonight, and they had Keselowski and Larson on there, and they both talked about how there was a lack of attrition in this race. Tires weren't wearing out. The couple of wrecks eliminated enough cars that there wasn't the big pack racing. The pit decisions weren't as influential as they usually are. So I think my impression was that they felt that it was kind of a boring race too.
And that's from the driver's perspective. Anytime that you're on a high bank of a racetrack, on a small racetrack such as Bristol, it's very odd to hear that the drivers felt like they were more on a Sunday drive than they were a race as well. So that's definitely, at least they're being honest there, Miss Lee.
Right.
It was hard to watch. Y'all know me. I love racing. Like, I just come home from racing. I stayed up till like 7 o'clock that morning. I watched from about lap 250 on forward. I got to see the Joey Logano wreck. I'm not sure that I took the checkered flag because I fell asleep. But, you know, all in all, I didn't feel like the need to go back and rewatch it. So, you know, honestly, you know, I was like, well, you know, I guess I'm glad I didn't waste my night sitting at home watching this race and not going to a short track, right?
Right.
Yeah, if the race is going to be this damn boring, it needs to be on Sunday so at least people can watch it instead of affecting their short track experience where they can go get some real short track racing. And I'm not bashing NASCAR. I just feel like we've messed up somewhere at Bristol, and it's disappointing. Taz Taylor. Taz? Is that you? You know, I never heard him say anything. Is he here?
He said he was in the queue.
Yeah. Turn the mute off, Taz. Okay. Turn the mute off.
Maybe.
It's okay, Taz. It's all right. Just work yourself through it. We're not going to judge you. Believe
like
he is.
He's got daddy things. But anyhow, the truck and Xfinity races were definitely better than the Cup race was, in my opinion.
That's for sure. That's for sure. I enjoyed the Xfinity race. I thought the Cup race. I mean, I thought the truck race was a little boring. Didn't have as much action, but now there was some good racing. So I'm not sure. You know, based off of what I've seen for Saturday versus what I've seen Thursday night, it was a lot more entertaining. At least there was more racing. At least there was more side-by-side, more passing and whatnot in the truck race. There wasn't
exactly.
A spectacular wrecks as the Xfinity race had. I thought the Xfinity race had some spectacular crashes and just, you know, so overall just better racing through the Xfinity series.
Yeah, exactly. There was more passing. There was more, you know, you were watching them figure out the grooves. I don't know. Maybe the track was too rubbered in for the Cup race. I don't know. But you know, you watch.
They put in PJ1.
Right, but you watch the trucks and the Xfinity cars figure the grooves out. You know, it took them a while. Both of those series, it took them a while to figure them out, and that was it was also very instrumental to the ending of both races.
Right.
You know, and how the grooves changed through the night, and you just did not see that with the Cup race.
Yeah, that was at one point in time in the Xfinity Series races where there were 5 to 6 cars bidding for the win. And when I say they were bidding for the win, they were within a half a second of each other. I don't understand how we couldn't get the same style racing on Saturday that we got on Friday. There was multi-groove racing. There was cars passing each other left and right. But then on Saturday night, it was a freaking parade lap.
Yeah, and that's why I'm wondering. Did they put more PJ1 down or no? Because
they did. Yes,
I just didn't see the same thing.
Right. They did put it down early Saturday morning. And my son said, Dad, that race is going to stop. Why he felt that way, I wish he was here right now so I could ask him. Yeah, he's at work.
That'd be interesting to hear because I being that we had 2 good races, I wonder why he thought that too.
The answer. I don't think grip is the answer, and that's what the PJ1 is. It's a grip additive, and I'm not sure that that's actually the answer. If you haven't grip, then you're probably and not having much tire wear off and whatnot. So, it's not a slick racetrack.
Well, and again,
slick racetrack where the tires moving, you're going to burn those tires off.
Well, and that goes back. So maybe it was the tire package. I don't know. But that then it goes back to what Brad and Kyle both said about the lack of attrition in the race.
Right. Here's my idea. If we can't have dirt on it, let's go laminate it. Let's just go pour some plastic over the top of that concrete and that rubbery plastic stuff, and see how much grip the tires will get then. I guarantee you, you have to slide down on you. You have to slide down the bottom on your bottom if you were really having to walk up the racetrack if that stuff was down. But we got to do something. We've got to do something with Bristol. This is ridiculous.
What about ice?
Ice, I love it. I love it as long as it's not the bad stuff,
Yeah. No.
Right. So, we got to do something. Look, obviously this is a short track issue. It's been going on for the last 2 years with this new car. They've done multiple tests to try to figure out how to make this car more compatible at this style racetrack. It's almost like, man, as Denny said before, scrap this car and build one that can race the short tracks, because we are a sport of short tracks. They cut the cookie cutters out. They wanted more short tracks. And now we have terrible racing at short tracks. Terrible racing at road courses and short tracks. But I don't care about the road courses. Let it be terrible races, so we'll quit going there. If we quit going to short tracks, I'm just not going to watch racing.
I'm going to butt in on this one because Brad Keselowski said this somewhere on social media. I don't remember where exactly, but he shared somebody's comment or something like that where a fan was saying how we wanted more short tracks and road courses, but the racing's not that great. But in terms of the 1.5 mile package, like, we've gotten pretty good races for the most part. And Brad kind of said it, well, if this is the fans' reaction, maybe we need to cut back on short tracks and road courses and focus more on the 1.5 miles again. If this is what's going to keep fans entertained and tune into these races, then that's what NASCAR should look into.
You know what? I am a road course fan. That was my first big NASCAR experience, so I'm all about the road courses. But I think maybe there are a few too many of them. But no, don't you dare cut the short tracks out. And I agree with the comment that, that Denny made, that maybe they need to scrap the car and start over again. Yes, it's safer. I don't think it's costing any less money. But, you got to figure out something. Go back to the days where you had a separate car for your short tracks and one that could handle the 1.5 miles and the road courses. Go ahead.
What if the answer truly is treaded tires?
Well, that's a thought too. I would not be against giving that a try.
I don't think I would be either. And considering what we've seen in North Wilkesboro, it's left the question in the back of our mind. It was only a truck race, and it was only for a little while, but it seemed like the racing was better on treaded tires instead of stickers. And that makes sense if the tire compounds are just not going to, if we're just not going to be able to find the correct compound to go with a sticker tire at a short track. We run all these other options at short tracks that are, short track package. Let's just call it the treaded tire is the short track package tire. Look, dirt cars don't go out on slicks. They go out on tread. It's a short track. It's dirt, no doubt. But I don't know if Cup cars were out on the dirt track and treaded tires or not. I think they were slicks. Were they not?
No, for the Cup dirt race, it was treaded.
Oh, yeah, I don't know everything.
Well, see, and this goes back to what I said earlier about, you know, is it the car or was it the tire package? Maybe it was the tire package. So yeah, why not give that a try?
Yeah, I mean, we can start simple here.
You know, and I mean, scrapping the entire car is the more expensive option. So yeah, let's go to Goodyear and let's say, hey, let's try this. It's got to be less expensive than trying to build a whole new car again.
My only thing is you would have to do it on an exhibition race, so try it at the Clash and All-Star race. That would be your only real options.
You know what? You say that, Taz, but I've watched these guys go out for Daytona 500 practice without making a single lap on the racetrack. I mean, it's the Daytona 500 qualifying without making a single practice lap out on the racetrack. So, I mean, I feel you, like I'd rather have, but, I mean, I feel like these guys have already tested this tire. It's not something new. Let's just try it. Let's go to our next short track. You know, maybe not Phoenix. Phoenix may not be the answer. You know, let's schedule a test at Martinsville or Richmond and just see how this tire works with tread on it. You know, it's a different style car. It's obviously not the same kind of car that the Xfinity Series is running or the Truck Series. If it was, we would have had similar racing.
Agreed.
I'm glad somebody said something. How about Dale Jr.? Boy, I thought he was going to win that race Friday night. Unfortunate circumstances.
He still got it.
The car caught on fire, like, from the inside. Like, that never happened. I don't know how it happened. I'm glad that Junior was okay. I'm not sure why they didn't throw a caution flag there.
Cough, cough, NASCAR fix, cough, cough.
Yeah, it was just odd. You know, you got the guy who sold more tickets to a NASCAR race than any other driver combined, and he's down there on fire, and you don't even get a caution.
I mean, the guy also sold out. The guy also sold out North Wilkesboro for late models.
He got off the track, and the 20, I think it was the 20 team helped him out. You know, so it was. I don't see that there was any reason to call a caution there.
I'm just a junior defender. I know. It's okay. I've been called worse. I thought he was going to win the damn race in this league. I really did. He was
definitely in contention. But remember, he said before the race even started, he was not going to mess with the race for their chase, basically.
Right.
He said he wasn't going to get in the way of that. So, right. I mean, yes, that fire was there, but, you know, I don't know. I guess I got my tin hat on.
Oh, you think he pulled off?
Maybe.
You think maybe his head got to swirling? Or he just didn't want to get caught up in, I don't know. That's the tin hat. I got to put one on. I got to see where you're coming from.
I'm saying maybe this was it was a setup.
Yeah.
You know, he was poised to possibly win, and they had a backup plan because he didn't want to mess with the standings amongst the Xfinity drivers.
Yeah, because he could have knocked his own car out of competition.
Right.
And seeing that's the problem with the other cars. He had nothing to lose. he had nothing to lose if he wasn't going to win. He had nothing to lose. Pull off.
You know, and I honestly, that was something that I hadn't even thought of before just now. But maybe they had a backup plan so that he wouldn't dominate
put no thought into this.
his own drivers.
Holy shit. But it's so real, though. I mean, it could be. Like, he would have nothing to lose. He's not going to win much by coming home fourth place. He didn't want to get into a wrecking situation with his own race car, as being that Justin Allgaier, he was the only car left in Junior Motorsports out there other than Dale Jr.
Right.
You know, it just that, you know, and I was trying to find the fire in the race car. Where was the fire at? I know they sprayed the spray in there, but as I watched the official, I was kind of confused. I was confused about where the fire was, because Junior looked at the back of his leg as if the back of his leg was hot or something. But, you know,
yeah,
that's very interesting.
It was somewhere in the footwell, but it was. He said, I forget where exactly he said he could see it, but it was somewhere in the footwell, and all it did was burn a little bit of down, down by his ankle.
Yeah, but he didn't spin
and there was no heavy smoke or nothing, and the pit crew, whatever pit he stopped in, I think it was the 20, I'm not sure, but you know, they helped them, but it was like they weren't like, it wasn't like they jumped into action, you know, like there was something really serious going on there.
Wait a minute, Miss Lee. You know, he talked about the biggest fear that he's ever had was when he almost burned up in a race car, right? In the Corvette.
Mm-hmm.
He said his father helped pull him out of the race car. Then he was in an airplane crash, and he talked about the fear, once again, that fear of the burning race car. He had that same fear in the airplane crash. If there was a slight bit of smoke or maybe fire in the race car, do you think that he may have overreacted?
Well,
PTSD is a son of a bitch.
I hadn't looked at it from that perspective, but there's that too.
Wow. You know, that's what we have opinions for, right? Everybody has an asshole, right? That's
right. and I'm known to be, and I am well known to be a conspiracy theorist. So, you know,
me too.
That's why I threw out the planned part.
Right? And then it opened the door to this. Taz, are you able to join in on this conversation? Where's Craig at? Craig just gave up on dinner.
So I can see where Miss Lee's coming from on the whole conspiracy of Dale Jr. Winning deal or whatever. But at the same time, I see it as, I think he still got it as long as, I guess you can throw in like a PTSD effect into it. Because, I mean, when you put him in a late model, he's always a top contender to win.
Yeah,
so I think he still
that's why
got
it was really weird. He looked panicked, y'all. He did. He looked panicked. That's why I'm having a hard time really feeling like it was a script, that this was like a plan B, because I felt the panic. I felt the rush, like he was trying to get out of that car, right? And, you know, I guess if he was faking it, he would want to look that way as well. But it just, you know, it brings up an interesting, as you were saying there, Taz, I'm sorry.
No, you pretty much hit it, because Junior sold out North Wilkesboro and was a top running car. And no matter where he goes with a late model nowadays, he's a front runner, easy. And when you put him in an Xfinity car, let's say this race, for example, I know Junior didn't want to be a factor in the Xfinity playoffs, but you knew he was going to run his race. And when Junior's going to run his race and he's like fully confident about it, you know he'll shine bright. And I think he was lacking a little bit of it. Because I honestly thought if he had more confidence in himself, he would have won that.
Yeah, I feel like there was a few times he did just let traffic go by. He did not race as hard as what we would expect him to race, maybe in a late model and all. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen Dale Jr. in a true competitive week-to-week basis. Each time that he's come out, which has generally been in the earlier part of the season, where he's come out and raced, I could see where the chase implications would have a big, look, I've watched Bloomquist go a lap down at a dirt track and pull off, right? He knew he wasn't going to win. He didn't want to junk his shit up. He had to go race somewhere the next night, So he pulls off, right? That's not uncommon. So as a car owner, you're able to make those. Okay, I can wreck a $100,000 race car, or I could wreck my teammate, who I'm the car owner of, who's bidding for a championship. It's dicey up here. I can see it. Both fit the script. I feel, as a Dale Jr. fan, I may be taking up for him with my conspiracy theory. But it is interesting to know that each of us have kind of an opinion about what transpired there, and it doesn't follow the fact of that he just pulled off for a little bitty fire. Why didn't you get back in the race car and go racing, right? So there wasn't an anxiousness. Look, he would look relieved to be out of that race car when they did the interview. Did you guys see that? I mean, he did. He looked relieved, like, yeah, man. He was like, I was like, damn, this is a guy who was just running for third. He should be disappointed.
I can see the relief side being that he's in a very competitive field, and there are championship chase implications on the line, especially when his drivers are involved. So I feel like there was a lot of tension feelings for him, probably a lot of nerves as well, because normally we see Junior in like a regular season race where there's not a whole lot to worry about. He's jumping into a race where there's a lot on the line.
Sorry, my dog's over here giving me love.
And I'm sure he didn't want to do something to not only mess something up for his drivers, but for somebody else too that's involved for a championship. So he probably had a lot of nerves going in, and probably during the race as well.
Yeah. All right. So there's been some silly season news. We got to hurry because we got round table. Silly season news. Out of left field, Spire buys another charter. Did they not sell a charter? I thought Spire sold a charter. So why would they buy a charter for $40 million?
So the rumor of charters being for sale and ended up being shut down was Stuart Haas and Spire. Both teams shut down those rumors, saying that there's no charter being sold or whatever. And so now Spire buys the Live Fast Motorsports charter. So if Live Fast Motorsports competes next year, regardless if it's part-time or full-time, they will be an open car, which is a little upsetting for BJ McLeod and Matt Tiff, who they put in a lot of time and effort to make this happen. But unfortunately, with those guys, there's not a lot of. I don't feel like there's a lot of big resources for them, and in an industry where if you don't have the big bucks, or big bucks of any kind, eventually it's going to come back and get you, and this is one of those times. But this paid off. But I feel like with Spire getting this charter, it paid off big time for Trackhouse, because Trackhouse now signs Zane Smith, but Zane Smith will be loaned over to Spire and racing this third charter car.
Another situation where the money comes to bite somebody in the butt.
But we knew Zane Smith was in the talks of getting a cup ride, though. We thought it was on the Ford side of things, because obviously with him in front row the last couple of years. So we all believed he was going to stay with Ford. And apparently Zane Smith, in one of his press conference interviews, he said that almost 365 days ago, he was talking to somebody of where he wanted to go if he landed in Cup again, and he wanted to land in Trackhouse. And almost 365 days later, he signed a deal with Trackhouse. So he had a vision.
Okay. Here's what I don't understand. It was in 2021, Spire sold 2 charters and only kept 1. The price for charters in 2021 were nowhere near what they are worth now. Why did Spire sell charters then only to turn around and pay $40 million for its third charter? It bought a charter after selling 2 of its 3 charters that it had. It bought a charter from Rick Ware Racing in 2021, and then they turn around and buy a charter again for $40 million from Live Fast Racing. Is anybody not kind of seeing here where does Spire come up with this money to wheel and deal charters? I've not seen anywhere else where they can just buy and sell charters like they're like it's monopoly money. What's going on with Spire Racing? And then I thought that Trackhouse Racing was going to field the cars for Zane Smith, but after listening to Dirty Door Bumper Clear, Zane Smith's going to be a driver for Spire Motorsports with Carson Hocevar and Corey LaJoie.
I think what we're looking at here, and I think we're missing a piece here. I believe Trackhouse and Spire had this collaboration going because
that's what you call it.
Because I'm trying to think of the words here. I think Trackhouse probably wanted another charter car, but I think at the moment they probably, and it's weird to say this, I think they didn't want to put all their money on it, because not only did they sign Zane Smith, they also signed Shane Van Gisbergen, but SVG is on a more developmental deal. So the only Cup starts we'll see him in will be with the Project 91 car. And then in terms of Xfinity and trucks, it'll be wherever he lands. I'm not sure where he'll fall in the Xfinity side of things. Maybe colleague. I don't know. But I'm thinking with the truck side, because of Ross Chastain with Trackhouse, I could see the Nice Motorsports side of things. But I'm thinking there's like a 3-way alliance here, because I believe Spire has some sort of alliance with Hendrick, I believe. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Trackhouse might be on that same ship too. And I feel like Spire and Trackhouse kind of like paired up to make something work where Spire, maybe with this deal of Spire getting Zane Smith as a loan instead of Spire really signing Zane Smith as a driver of theirs, I feel like Spire maybe had a little bit more money to play with in terms of Trackhouse.
I don't know, man. It just seems mighty fishy of one organization that's able to buy and sell charters. Why would you sell your charters in the first place to turn around and buy them when they're going to be more expensive? That just, to me, doesn't make sense. Inspire is supposed to be a driver agency, right? They're supposed to be like an agent for drivers, similar to Kevin Harvick Incorporated. It just seems like we're going to find out later on there was some kind of money manipulation here. It's like Justin Marks may own Trackhouse, but then there's some, there's some shifty things that go on between Colleague Racing, Spire Motorsports, and Trackhouse Racing. I'm sorry. I will call it right here. We've been calling conspiracies all night. There's something that transpires between those three organizations that's just real fishy. And, I haven't been able to put my finger on it. But, this Chris Rice guy, he comes up a lot. He's kind of a weird guy. But, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just have a feeling later on down the road, in a year or two, maybe 3 years, the NASCAR scandals is going to have a huge one on the manipulation. Because the one thing that you're doing is you're driving the cost of these. See, Spire Motorsports is single-handedly driving the cost of these charters out the window. When you have an organization that has had possession of 5 charters, and they have sold each of these charters for more than what they paid for them, but then having to pay more for the next charter, which is driving the market value up. Most of the time we find out that there's some kind of Ponzi scheme going on there.
Exactly. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, and we'll both come out better
the
for
money
it.
Laundering is something, right? They're taking something straight out of Felix Sabatis' book. The only way to make a million in dirt racing and racing is to show up with 10 million, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there's something. It'll come out eventually.
So what the big news basically had was Zane Smith is signed by Trackhouse, going to drive for Spire. Carson Hocevar is going to be in with Spire Motorsports next year as well, in the Cup Series. These dominoes, they're about done falling. The one thing that the sport did, I guess, cash in on is we got rid of a start and park car, basically. We got rid of the guy who has never even been competitive. We've never even seen him lead a lap or anything. Now that car will be replaced by a car that hopefully will be more competitive. That's good news. So, but the rest of the free agency list, I think Noah Gragson is the only guy here that we're left trying to figure out, kind of where his future holds. Matt Diamandetto got basically given the pink slip after announcing that he was leaving the 25 Truck Series team. Matt, given an early exit. That was news that just come out today. You guys got any thoughts on or anything with that? Matt Diamandetto has not been able to bet on himself and win.
I don't know what it is with DiBenedetto. I don't know if he puts pressure on himself or I don't know. I feel like there's something there that's preventing him from being an easy top contender for not only race wins, but also like top 5s and top 10s. I know the news of him leaving Rackley Truck Series team was kind of a bit of a shock, but he was originally going to leave at the end of the season so he could explore his options. And the team basically said, well, we're done with you since you're pretty much done with us. Have fun with your endeavors.
Right.
And, I mean,
more free time now to explore those options.
I said this in our group chat. I believe he's got the talent, but I think a lot of what he's going to be struggling with to find a new ride this time is sponsorship dollars. If you look at where he was in Cup, which was Wood Brothers, I forgot where he was before that. Paul Menard hand select. Right before, or when he was given the Wood Brothers right, Paul Menard hand selected him. But with the Wood Brothers team, they're highly funded already. They already have Menard. They already have Ford Motorcraft. They already had like one or two other big-time sponsors with the team. So DiBenedetto didn't really have to bring much sponsorship dollars with him.
Right.
And then when he left there to go race in trucks with Rackley, had similar situation with Wood Brothers. They already had their dedicated sponsors to that team. So again, DiBenedetto doesn't bring a lot of sponsorship dollars. Now he wants to go find another team. He doesn't bring the big dollars. So where's he going to go?
And
right.
again, this is where the money comes to bite you in the butt. If you don't come from money or you can't bring a big sponsor, where does that leave you?
Out of the sport.
Exactly.
Yep.
And all this talk about making the cars more equal and, trying to cut down on costs for the teams. Yet here again, what are we doing but perpetuating the drivers that have money or the drivers that can, corral those big sponsors? And you see this all through the ranks. And you guys know this from your local track experience. If you don't have the money, one way or the other, you don't race. It doesn't matter how talented you are or how untalented you are. If you don't have the money, you can't race.
Exactly.
And Matty D is a decent driver. He's had success. So why can't he get the sponsorship? He obviously doesn't come from money. Otherwise, he'd be in an okay situation. So what is it about him that he can't attract and find at least one good sponsor to stick with him? So maybe that's his issue. Maybe he needs to look more at how he can pursue a sponsorship deal with one company. Because once you get one company, you can start to add more at smaller levels maybe, but you can get there. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this from a PR perspective.
Well, Trevor Bain's a perfect example. Right? Trevor Bain, when the money ran out, he ran out of a ride. Trevor's still a talented race car driver. He's proved that on his few races that he's raced with Joe Gibbs Racing.
Right.
I think if Matt DiBenedetto plays his cards right, I think he may need to look into an organization such as KHI to help him out. I don't want to put him in a situation of you need to go put yourself in a SS Greenlight Xfinity car or try swinging for the fences and get into SHR. I think if he goes the KHI route, he might have some sort of benefit out of this that might help him a little bit more. I mean, looking at the Truck Series this year, DiBenedetto, he was eliminated after the first round of the Truck Series playoffs. But in 20 starts, despite no wins and the lackluster of top fives because he only has 2, he has 12 top 10s. So, I mean, most of the time he's a top 10 contender. There's only 2 races he never finished.
Mm-hmm. And that tells a lot about a race car driver, right?
So he's sitting about in the 80 to 90 percentile in terms of running up front
Laps
and
complete.
not finishing races.
Mm-hmm.
Or I should say finishing races versus not finishing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, he's a decent driver. He's a great guy. But he is at least a decent driver, as opposed to some of those who sit towards the back of the pack all the time.
You have characters.
So go ahead.
You have characters like Carl Edwards, and you have characters like Russell Wilson from the Denver Broncos. People love to cut up on him. They always said Carl Edwards had a fake smile. A lot of times drivers are pinpointed. Parker Kligerman, people didn't like Parker Kligerman in the beginning. If Matt DiBenedetto were to take the broadcasting side, people like DiBenedetto. There's enough people that like DiBenedetto to calm the other people down, right? Do you think that would be a step in the right direction for just kind of improving, obviously, that relationship from the PR side? Because one thing about DiBenedetto is it seems to be that he's had a loud exit almost every organization that he's left. It was a loud exit at Wood Brothers. It was a loud exit at Go Fast Racing. It was a loud exit from BK Racing. I think it's a loud exit from this one. So maybe he needs a little bit of broadcasting or being on that side of the fan side to make to help Parker Kligerman get back into a full-time ride.
It's also helped Trevor Bayne on a part-time ride.
I was just going to bring that up. So you've got a point there, Chris. Maybe that's something he needs to do to get his face out there more. He's got a good fan base, So let's build on that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, Parker, made it all the way into the playoffs. So
I think Parker Kligerman was. People kind of thought of Parker as like AJ Allmendinger without the perfect hair, kind of a rich kid that didn't really belong in NASCAR at the time.
Well, I think with Parker Kligerman too, you have to sit here and think. And I think this is where we can see a little bit of a difference between Kligerman and Trevor Bayne. Kligerman's got a full-time ride on a lower budget team with that Big Machine Record team or whatever they're named. But Trevor Bain, he has a part-time ride, but he's working with a more well-known veteran team in Joe Gibbs.
Mm-hmm. One's a part-time, one's a full-time. I'm sure the same money was spent.
But they're both driving.
Right. And if that's what Matt wants to do, and Matt wants to stay in the sport, broadcasting may be his best option. And I would enjoy seeing Dan Benedetto as a pit reporter or something. I really would. I like Dan Benedetto.
Well,
all right.
We do have to mention that Daniel Hemrick will be moving back into the Cup Series for the Colleague 31 team. Still unknown of the 16 right now. Allmendinger has said he wants to compete full-time with Colleague, but he's just leaving it up to the team of if he's running Cup or Xfinity. I would like to see him in Cup, but if it's an Xfinity, the only person I would think of that could grab a driver, a free agent, would be Noah Gragson for Colleague.
Yeah.
If they don't move AJ back down, then they better grab Noah.
Mm-hmm.
But then again,
I could see him over there for sure.
But then again, what did I post in the chat the other day? Noah is running. Is it a late model race for Rick race?
Yes.
So there's a possibility there too.
Did you say it was Rick Ware Racing?
I'm sorry. Was it? Oh shoot.
No.
Was it Brent Jones? No.
Okay.
No, it was Rick Ware.
Wow. Hey, Rick Ware gives a lot of people opportunity. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Rick Ware once again doing something to help racing. All right. So, is there anything else that we got to cover before we go to round table? Well, oh boy, we missed it this time.
I don't think we did as bad as you make it out to be.
Well, if you would have just traded Ryan Blaney with Joey Logano, I think we would have been all right. But you really put Joey Logano in question. Our last roundtable discussion, you were adamant to believe that Joey Logano was in a bad position. I just don't think any of us was ready to accept that. Oh, one quick thing, without being rude, without being distasteful, disrespectful. Miss Sherry Pollux passed away. Long-time cancer survivor, ovarian cancer. She was a marksman towards bringing awareness to that cancer. She was former girlfriend to Martin Truex Jr. Rest in peace, Sherry Pollux. It's heartbreaking that the sport lost such a strong woman. She will be missed greatly. Let's complete the roundtable discussion.
Thank you for bringing that up, Chris, because I was actually going to bring that up next. She was a warrior, and she ran Martin's Foundation for Pediatric Cancer for a long time, and she will definitely be missed. Condolences to everyone, to her family.
For sure. All right, back to the round table discussion. We've eliminated 4. Kevin Harvick, just bad. Really, 3 out of the 4 guys were Fords, and all of them were former Daytona 500 champions. How about that?
And 2 of them were former Cup Series champions.
Man, that is something.
I just want to see
Wall.
Harvick win a race before he retires.
Right.
I can see it. But one thing, there's 2 things I kind of want to note here. One was, as you mentioned, Chris, I did question Joey Logano because with Logano on the odd number years, so we're in 2023, he's always off. He's always off. It doesn't matter how far he goes, but he just, for some reason, with the odd number years, it's just not his year. And everyone has that stat. And it probably haunts him. It's probably starting to haunt him now. The other note I want to mention, this is kind of more of a stat of the day sort of deal. Bubba Wallace overcame the second largest deficit in NASCAR playoffs history to advance in an elimination race on points. And he entered the playoffs at minus 19 and ended up with plus 4.
Wow.
Hey, way to go. Yeah, we've got we need to give the guy some slack. We need to give him some credit. He's racing better now than what he has in the past. But it's expected, right? I mean, this is the 3rd year of having good money. You got to figure it out, and he's proven it. All we ever wanted was to know that the investment was for good cause and not another waste of time like we had with Danica Patrick, right? Bubba was always showing that he could win races. It just took him longer to get there.
Exactly. So, with that being said, we got round of 12
He'll
now.
be eliminated this round.
Agreed.
So,
he won't make it to the round of
hold on. Let's go through our list of drivers, top to bottom.
Wait, let's start with the tracks in this series.
All right.
Start.
All right. So the 3 tracks in this round, we start off with Texas, then we go to Talladega, then we end the round with the Charlotte Road Course, whatever you want to call it. The 12 drivers in the playoffs still remaining are William Byron, regular season champion Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, and Bubba Wallace. Now, I did do a average finish type of deal for this round of tracks with these 12 drivers. And if I read off to you who's in the bottom 4, you may be shocked that at least one of them, if not 2 of them,
the floor is yours.
Well, we are looking at right now the bottom 4 in average finish with an 18.7 is Chris Buescher. Then it's Kyle Larson with a 19.9. Then you go to Bubba Wallace with a 21.2. And then Ross Chastain with a 23.3.
The only one that surprises me is Larson.
And right now, with how things are looking for this round, I think Chris Buescher might make it out of here for two reasons.
Talladega
and Charlotte Roval. We've seen how RFK has performed with the super speedway races, so I think Chris Buescher might be all right with that one, and with how he's ran on road courses. It wouldn't surprise me if he makes it through with that. The only question mark that he's got for this round is Texas, and that's his worst average finish in this round. That's a 23.3. Kyle Larson, his struggle point is Talladega, which doesn't surprise me any because he's not much of a super speedway racer. Bubba Wallace's struggle points are Charlotte and Texas. Ross Chastain, he has the same struggle points, but they're worse than Bubba Wallace. So with that being said, the floor is open.
Well, I'm with Chris. I don't think Bubba makes it past this round.
I don't see it either. Yep. I think Talladega is his only light of hope. And you can't really bank on that for a round like this.
Right.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace is probably the weakest.
I can see Buescher making it pass. But just because, like you laid it out, he's good at Talladega. We know that. You know, and
and good at the road course.
Roval maybe. I see.
And the way. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I know Talladega is going to be Larson's downfall. But I'm not quite sure I see him getting eliminated this round.
I think Larson can do fine at Texas. Talladega is going to be the biggest question mark.
Right.
I honestly think Larson can make it through if he gets a good performance at Charlotte.
Well, him and dirt.
But I'm going to try breaking this down here. So if we look at just the average finish of the Roval, which just about everybody in this round has fairly the same amount of starts, Larson is on the bottom four of all these drivers. So I think if he can make up something with this track, he may be able to make it through. Obviously, if he wins Texas, he has nothing to worry about for the next two races. But if he doesn't, I would have to. If I were Larson, I would circle Charlotte and say, look, this is the track we need to have our A game on, because if we don't, we might be going home.
Well,
all right,
I'm going to
throw a wild card. I'm going to throw a wild card out there. Blaney.
I can see him getting through. And here's why. He's got the second best average finish of all drivers in this round. Texas and Talladega, he sits at a pretty decent 15th place average finish. Charlotte, he's one of two drivers in this playoff field of 12 that have an average finish of inside the top 10. And Blaney has obviously won on the Roval before. He's won at Talladega before. He has won at Texas despite being an all-star race, but he has won there. So all three of these tracks, he has potential of winning at.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, Joe Logano won a championship too, and he can't get out of the first round. So Blaney and Chastain are my two guys that I know I feel like are going to have a hard time transferring to the next round. Bill is up in the air, so I'm putting a vote for Chastain to be gone.
I can go
Blaney.
with that. I can go with Chastain on that one. I think his only strong suit would be Talladega. I don't see him being much of a threat. Honestly, the Charlotte Roval, I think he has the worst average finish of the 12 playoff drivers, and I think he's sitting the lowest as well for Texas. So it seems like he doesn't have a thing for Texas.
Yeah, I'm good with Chastain not making it too.
So we got Bubba and Chastain crossed off.
Yeah, and then it gets sticky because how much are you really buying into the RFK cars? I think they had one of the best rounds of the playoffs this past round.
Yeah, but you have to think about how these tracks favor Chris, you know?
Right.
I mean, as I've mentioned...
Yeah, they favor his style racing. They really do.
Exactly.
Yes. Talladega and Charlotte Roval play into Chris Buescher. Brad Keselowski plays into Talladega. I think that's his strongest track of this round. I think, in my personal opinion, I'm not questioning it as much with Larson. But I think if he can get through... I think if he can get a good finish with Texas, Talladega is obviously suits his wheelhouse as well. I think if he can get through Texas, he'll be all right.
Talladega is such a crapshoot, though.
And so is Texas. Really, this is the round of chaos, right? I mean, you got Texas, no telling what the hell's going to happen there. You got the road.
Right.
Is it going to be a boring road course race, or is it going to be the Roval? You know, they over the last year they really raced the Roval. You know, like the road course, there wasn't very much action. It was like they got it figured out all of a sudden.
A couple of things I want you guys to think about here too, with how these playoffs work, and it's usually this round here too, as Chris has mentioned. Let's think of the last round. Martin Truex Jr., if you have two bad races, you can be the regular season champion and rack up all those playoff points and be under the cutoff line and somehow barely make it through.
Yeah.
Look at the championship year Kyle Larson had at one point, and I do believe it was at this round, the round of 12. He was on the outside looking in at one point.
Yeah, and Truex, Truex is a perfect example of that. You know, how close he really was to getting eliminated, actually. He has to be a kind of a bubble situation as well.
You know what?
This one's a lot harder. I think we voted Chastain and we voted Wallace for sure, but from that point, you know, to find two more to eliminate it, you know, it's really just a roll of the dice because does Tyler Reddick, you know, does he carry the momentum into these next three races? He's been an up and down driver all year long. William Byron, I mean, we've not discussed him one bit, but that guy's been streaky too. And I mean, when I mean streaky, he can win all three or lose all three. I mean, so we don't know.
You guys may think I'm out of whack on this, but I highly think we may see a Kyle Busch exit in this round.
Wow.
But I think I can see William Byron and Tyler Reddick move on.
Whoa.
William Byron, he has run very well at mile-and-a-half races this year. And obviously he's won a few of them. So I don't think Texas will be a problem. We know with super speedway races, William Byron can get the job done if things fall his way. He does have the fourth best average finish at Talladega amongst the 12 playoff drivers. Charlotte Roval will be the question mark for him. So I do believe William Byron will be okay. Tyler Reddick, on the other hand, 2 of these 3 tracks, he has an average finish inside the top 10. That's Texas and Charlotte. Talladega is going to be, just like Larson, Talladega is not suiting him at all. So I have a good feeling that Tyler Reddick will go on, and I have a good feeling William Byron will move on. And personally, I think Kyle Busch may have bitten the dust on this round.
Yeah. You know what? He's overachieved in the equipment.
I don't see Kyle Busch's consistency as of late as we saw in the first part of the season.
But knocking him out of the top 10, I mean, that's, I guess, I don't know. But I based off of the type of season Kyle Busch has had, and knowing, like, we've not talked about Kyle Busch, right? He's been irrelevant. And that's basically terms for termination. So I will have to ride with you. I will have to ride with you on this one, Taz.
I'm on board, too.
All right, so we've eliminated 3 drivers. Are we okay with moving drivers over in terms of can we move them on to the next round?
Yeah. I pretty much already have my final guy that I believe will be eliminated. And I'm not sure you guys are going to anywhere agree with it, but I have a feeling this driver was almost eliminated this time. Maybe it says a little bit more about what's going on in his head. Obviously, highs of highs, lows of lows. I would not be surprised to see Martin Truex Jr. make it out of this
round. Same page.
Yep.
I
was thinking the same thing because I know for a few months now he hasn't been with Sherry, but in some way or form it's got to affect him.
Absolutely.
It could affect him in the other way. It could, but I'm not. I think there's a little bit of negative press being pushed around this. I'm not going to get into the story and whatnot. I believe a certain commentator / sport promoter, I guess, whatever she was reprimanded and fired by Sky Sports today because of some insensitive comments. She got fired. Yes, she did.
Yay.
She got fired. Sky Sports let her go.
She was so out of line.
Right. It said whatever. It said what a lot of people wanted to question. I think she was defending a power woman to another power woman. I think there was something to that. I think that's the reason why she said it.
No.
You think
As
it was just
woman,
for attention?
It was
you think it was just for attention?
insensitive, and that's all I'm going to say. And that's that. But yes, I agree on putting Martin on that list just because. And you know what? And not just because of what he might be going through emotionally right now, but because he hasn't performed.
Right. He had earlier in the season.
He got in on he squeaked into this round by points. So, yeah, I agree with putting him on the list.
I mean, it's bound to happen. Like I said, last round he was under the cut line. Kyle Larson's big comeback championship season, at one point he was under the cut line. He was looking on the outside going in.
Yeah. Joe Logano basically kept Martin Truex Jr. from being eliminated.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah, that if it hadn't been for that wreck.
And one thing I do want to read off here is that Martin Truex Jr., let me go through his average finishes quick. In this little chart I have made up, he ranks 7th of 12. 16.9 average finish in the round. But he's got 14.5 at Texas, 21.4 at Talladega, and a 14.8 at Charlotte. Obviously, what I just read off, Talladega is his red mark. It's not going to go over well for him. So it's really going to be make and break at Texas and Charlotte. Kyle Busch, his strongest track in this round is Texas.
It is Talladega. What? Pretty good at Talladega, too, y'all.
No. That's not his
Kyle
strongest
Busch is
track
pretty
at
good
this
at
round.
Talladega. Well, I mean, he's pretty good at it. Talladega's too much of a crapshoot to be Tony's strongest track.
I mean, he's
Unless
got
you're
the
Brad
mentality.
Keselowski.
I think, here's the difference I see with Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch. And I'm not trying to knock on Kyle Busch any, because I do think he's a well-talented driver. And so is Brad and as well. I think with Kyle Busch versus Brad Keselowski, when it comes to super speedway races, I think both of them do show up to those tracks with a mentality of we're playing chess in a checkers game. But I think Brad has the better winning mentality versus Kyle Busch.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Again, not knocking on either one of those two by anything I've said, but there's something with super speedway races. Yes, you have the act for it, but the question is, how well can you play the game with it? And I think Brad Keselowski of modern day is one of the best drivers to do it. He shows up playing chess in a checkers game, and he's just smart how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, if you look at it with his Penske days, I think there was one year, I want to say it was, it's either 2018 or 2019. I don't remember which year. But he has won Talladega during the playoffs.
Right.
So he knows the mentality of this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a big time supporter. I think both Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski is going to make it to the Final Four. I mean, until you show me a streak of 3 races where they don't perform, they have performed at every racetrack and every type of racetrack on the circuit. Okay, and they've been one of the fastest race cars each weekend at these tracks. Every week for the last 8 weeks. They have proved they turn the juices up at the right time. And they're performing their best at the right time. Now, it could all slip out from underneath them, and they could be eliminated this round, But I think that they've really got something that's working, and they're one of the best and the fastest teams in point in time. I would not be surprised to see one or both in the Final Four. It's going to take a couple wins to get them there. But, like I said, Keselowski is biting at he's chomping at the bit. He's almost there. You know, he's almost there. So do I think Keselowski's going to win this year? Damn right I do. Is it going to come at the Roval? Probably not. Could it come at Texas? Yeah. Could it come at Talladega? Absolutely. If Brad Keselowski isn't one of your favorites for Talladega, I would question the entire year. But I know, Keselowski's going to be a favorite. And he may get the win before then.
Brad Keselowski is a contender, not a favorite.
Oh, no, you are wrong, dude. You are wrong. This guy's got as many wins as Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Hey, I'm with you, but I had to throw in a little bit of,
Yeah. Well, Chris Buescher is his teammate, so he'll have to push him to the win, obviously. But I think Chris owes him one.
I think Buescher should owe Brad a favor.
Yeah, that's for sure. But we know how that works when Jimmy Johnson got pushed to the checker flag by Junior. And I hate to spoil it, but I feel like we were all on the same page. It was obvious. Like Martin Truex Jr. barely made it. I think we've kind of given him a pass on what's been going on. Look, in these situations, a lot of times you'll see the best out of athletes, or you can see the fizzle of the athlete. Where Martin Truex goes from here, I don't know. Could it be that he has a newfound inspiration to go out and win one for Sherry? We don't know. We'll see. And I think that some of the negative press is probably beating at him, and we will probably hear more from Martin about this situation come this weekend when the races come back. So, I think it caught us all by surprise.
And I did think about that today, like, as you said, Chris, like, I thought of it at one point as, will he use that as a motivation?
Motivation, yes.
But at the same time, like, how much does this really affect him, though, too? Because, like I said, he's been with her for, like, what, over 10 years? I don't remember the exact timeline, but I think it was for quite a while. And obviously he's I just think that we don't really know his real, true personal feelings on this. Do we need to know? Not necessarily, but how much of this event will affect his performance? Obviously, we saw last year, obviously something was going on behind the curtains we didn't know about that affected his year last year. And it showed because not only was he was a top 5 points driver, but he didn't win. He didn't make the playoffs.
Okay.
And when obviously the news broke out that they separated at the beginning of the season, it seemed like Truex maybe had a weight lifted off his shoulders. But maybe with him not performing as well in the first round, how much of this event will affect him this time around?
Right.
I will tell you that I know, regardless of what their relationship status was, the man is heartbroken. There's no doubt about that. The real question is how it's going to affect his racing. And like Chris said, it could spur him on to do better than we expect. It could leave him where we've put him in eliminating him this round. So, that is a big question. And you can't discount the human side of our drivers.
Right. Exactly.
So, it remains to be seen, exactly how this affects his performance. And there should be no criticism of his performance because of that.
Right. All right. Well, that's our roundtable discussion, man.
Yeah, we got. So we'll do the rundown quick. So moving on, we have William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Brad Keselowski, and Ryan Blaney. Going on to the round of 8, Elite 8, whatever you want to call it, the quarterfinal, semifinal, whatever you want to call it. And we were 2 for 4 the last round, so.
Our worst ever in our first round.
Actually,
Bubba
no.
Wallace really
I look
surprised
back.
us.
No. Last year, after the first round, we were 1 for 4, correct. And that was our worst.
Okay.
So I
we
think
did
2
better
for
than
4
last
is not
year
bad.
then. Yay. Yeah. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. How about some meatloaf? All right. Well, Taz, I think that opens the door for Taz's hot picks coming into. Where are we going? Texas or the Roval? Where are we going?
Texas, because everything's bigger in Texas.
Oh, no. We don't know what the hell we're getting in Texas. I mean, this is our first time to go into Texas this year, right?
I think so. I don't think we did Texas as the All-Star. No, we didn't do Texas as the All-Star race this year. So I believe this is the first time we're going this year.
I can't wait to go to Homestead. That's what I'm excited about. Texas. We don't know what we've got here. We really don't.
All right, well, we'll break it down for you. And right now, as I'm trying to put it in the group chat, so favorites, I have listed Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, and Denny Hamlin. And the contender spot, I have Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and Brad Keselowski. Underdogs, I have listed Eric Jones. I hate to say his name, but Mr. Rhinestone Cowboy, Austin Dillon. And mi amigo Daniel Suarez.
Yay.
The floor is open for the rest of fill the list. If you need stats to back it up, I'll be gladly to give them to you.
So you got? Did you send those? You got Larson?
Yep, they're in the group.
Okay. All right. I see. I don't see Larson on here. He should be a favorite. We eliminated Busch, but now he's a favorite on this list.
So Texas is the only track I see him getting anything out of. But the reason why I listed Kyle Busch as a favorite for this race, and he's the only easy favorite I could put for any of the 3 races of this round, is because he has 4 wins in 32 races, 14 top 5s, and 18 top 10s. The average finish of 11.7. So if Kyle Busch wants to go into the next round, this is the track to do it. Otherwise, I'm writing them off the script. It's the only reason why I have Kyle Busch as a favorite in this track.
I'll have to take my chances and go with Kyle Larson is a favorite, y'all. I mean, one of these Hendrick cars is going to be a favorite. We're to the point now in the chase where I'm not really expecting to see too many out of the chase cars being contenders, as much as I would like to see Harvick. But it's the resources, right? The resources that are being put into these race teams. I feel like William Byron, Kyle Larson are going to get the best resources, hands down, coming up in this period of racing. So based off of that, it's a high-banked racetrack, and they like to run around the top. It's just hard not to leave Kyle Larson, without putting him on the favorites list, for sure.
All right. That's fair enough. He does have a win at Texas. His average finish is a 17.8, so that is a bit of a downfall. But with how I can't argue against with what Chris has said. I mean, he knows how to get the job done when needed to. I think this is one track he probably has circled to make sure he either gets a win or gets as many points as possible to move on.
Busher.
Yeah, Busher is a top contender.
Yeah, has to be.
So this is where the round table comes in, and this is why I said Texas was the big question mark, because he doesn't even have a single top 10 at this track. Is a 23.3 average finish, and I know momentum's on his side and RFK's side. I'll give him that, but this, if he wants to get in at least off of points, this is the track where he's gonna have to make a move. And honestly, if we're putting him on the list, the only spot I can put him on is underdog.
I put him as a contender.
Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. Sometimes stats, are what we depend on the most. You have to presume, you have to assume things as well. The way that Keselowski and RFK and Busher have been running here of late, I fall back to they are the fastest out on the racetrack. They are the top performing Ford cars. At the same time, history showed that Busher's not one of his favorite tracks. So I would definitely make sure that he is on this list. So, Taz, if you're willing to put him over on the underdog side, I'm sure that there would be people who would argue, but we are looking for the top contenders at this racetrack. And there may be a couple of other names that are out that are above that.
I'll consent to underdog.
All right.
It sounds like a good story.
So now for contenders, what about? I would. What about right? William Byron or Joey Logano?
No, I think the resources are going to be in Ryan Blaney's favor now.
I can see him as a contender easy. I mean, finish despite no points wins, I should say. 8 top 10s in 14 races with 4 top 5s. He's led almost 4,000 laps. I can see him being a contender. No question. He's won the All-Star race at this track.
Right. You're talking about William
I guess
Byron?
that
I mentioned Logano and Byron.
Yeah, like I said, he would be more of an underdog, I think. Byron has to be a contender because he's a Hendrick car, of course.
In my personal opinion, I would put Logano nothing smaller than a contender.
I agree.
He has one win, 12 top 5s, 15 top 10s.
And he's got a point to make now.
Exactly.
Go win races.
So we'll put him as a contender. Are we sticking Byron as a favorite too?
I guess maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, probably. He's definitely got some fat. Look, this is Hendrick's time to shine. Y'all know what time it is. Jesus, to think that William Byron's not going to go out and win this race, hell, he may be my pick for the weekend.
Speaking of picks, I got in Chris's head last week.
I gotta make sure I get a solid pick this week. Damn sure.
Chris, I'll admit, after I emailed my pick, I started looking at people's picks, and I was like, damn. I got in his head. I saw your pick. I think, or what happened was that I had emails flying through quickly, so I checked them rather quickly, and then just to double check to make sure there was no duplicates or anything. And luckily, my pick that I had typed out wasn't a duplicate. But as soon as yours came in, Chris, I literally laughed hysterically because I was like, "Dang, I got in his head."
Whatever. I was confident, man. Bristol was going to be it.
And he didn't do bad either. I'll give you props for that.
He ran 5. Yeah, just didn't get the final points like I was hoping. So, it happens.
Trying to think, the underdogs. What's left?
What are you eating? Peanut butter? Yeah.
Shoot. Underdog. What would be a good one to throw in? Did I throw in Almirola? No, I did not.
Eric Jones. No, Eric Jones.
He's in there.
Is he in there? He's in there. Yeah, he's in there. Never mind.
Yep.
Oh.
And this is hard to believe. I don't know how he does not have a win at this track. But he's finished outside the top 10 4 times at this place. 11 races, no wins, 3 top 5s, 7 top 10s.
Really?
And he's led some laps. Good chunk of laps, too.
Huh. Yeah, Jones is, this is his season, right? He's a better second half season driver than he is a first half season driver. Amarola's interesting. I think Ty Gibbs, definitely one to watch because Toyota's definitely turned it on here of late. At least some of the Toyotas have.
So we have to throw one person on this list. Would you do Almirola or Ty Gibbs?
Ty Gibbs.
Yeah.
What about you, Lee?
Definitely
That's giving that kid a lot of credit, man. I don't even like that kid.
Me neither, but
we've given him hard criticism for getting on Grandpa's money.
He's had an impressive rookie year, though. Considering, we have to compare him to the Dillon brothers. I think he's got more talent than either one of them.
He's got more talent than the two of them combined.
Oh yeah, he's got more. Baby Gibbs is more talent than Rhinestone Cowboy and the Pillsbury Dillboy.
Well, I think that'll do it. So we've revealed the deal. Hope that you got your pick in. Hopefully we won't bump heads. I know that there's going to be some thrashing to get through to the top guy. It was interesting. I didn't see Chastain. Never heard Chastain's name mentioned, and Suarez either.
Suarez was an underdog.
Well, we didn't mention his name very much. It just seems, all that talk of the powerhouse, the Trackhouse, we're now seeming to fade off from that idea. Fade away, fade away. Yep. So, so goes Craig Morris, so goes Trackhouse.
That's cold.
You did not go there.
Wow. I'm just messing with my buddy. Yep. I'm that asshole. I love my buddy. Y'all know that. He's my buddy. Look, this show wouldn't even be here if I didn't have I'm a part of it. All right. Well, I guess we're going to close it out.
All righty. So with that being said, thank you everyone for listening along to Race Chat Live here on Blog Talk Radio. If you ever miss a live show, you can always catch us on any form of podcast, such as Blog Talk Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, RSS Feed, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, GeoSaven, Podcast Addict, Deezer, Podchaser, YouTube, and Amazon Music. Speaking of YouTube, by the way, go over to the 110 Nation Sports YouTube channel. Go hit that subscribe button.
How about that?
As you'll be seeing clips of our shows, not only Race Chat Live, but also the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ and Mario from Carolina Sports Plus. You'll be seeing clips of Jared's new shows on Thursday nights as well, talking the safety aspects of racing. Of course, any other content 110 Nation related, we'll throw it up there as well.
That's the coolest. That's been the coolest addition to the 110. Is these new short clips that have come out. Love it, man. Gives us extra exposure.
Exactly. So again, head on over to our YouTube page, click that subscribe button, and also if you really want to be tuned in with us, hit that notification bell so that way there you know when videos are uploaded, you're up to date with us. Also, we want to thank the sponsors and make the 110 Nation roll: Bears Bullish Market Talk Group, Carolina Sports Plus, More to Music, Karaoke and Entertainment, Yellow Caution Flag Productions, and TNT Designs. We want to thank everyone for listening on the Race Chat Live. We'll see you at the same bat time, same bat place next Tuesday night here on Blog Talk Radio. Don't forget, tomorrow night, Mr. CJ and Mario in the studio. 8 p.m. Eastern is their show time for the 110 Nation Sports Show. I'm sure they have a lot of good things to talk about in terms of NFL Week 2 recap and their Week 3 picks. Also, Thursday night, tune into Jared's podcast, talking about aspects of racing. I'm sure he's got a good lineup of guests to talk about as well. And, of course, don't forget, Monday nights are the 110 Nation and Race Chat Live exclusives, where you'll be listening to interviews from anybody in the racing industry.
And we have Dawson Sutton as our guest this upcoming Monday.
Woo! All righty. So with that being said, we'll say good night. See you next week here on Blog Talk Radio. This has been the Caution Flag Race Radio. Chris Creighton, the Mama Bear, the 110 Nation.
I'm sorry, I hit that a little bit too quick.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.